Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And today we're going to be going into Normal Battle 3 with a Dark team. So I'm rank 3 right now. I think it's fairly good. I'm a few points off of the cap. The RNG to get this is stupid, so I'm not going to try it anymore for less than 100 points. But you're starting with a 3-3 or a steal or a giveaway or a rainbow orb change. It's really up to you how you want to use this first turn. We do a few things, but you're gonna use the Overlord team essentially. Dark and magic, so Ainz is gonna be pretty good here as your single target nuker. But before we get there, disclaimers. Number one, your results may vary, because if you don't have the Overlord team, you're going to have to use something else, and sorry. But you got to do what you got to do. This video is supposed to be more of a guide to show you how to get it done, and then you got to use what you got. Disclaimer number two is that these are protection gauge units, and these are skill point units. Please use them effectively. And then disclaimer number three is don't forget to go into your town and optimize your dark magic buildings. But with that said, let's get started. Alright, so the first team is going to be the Overlord team. We're trying to RNG the crap out of this. So we've got Rimuru, we've got skill-fused Soe. One, because he's got an orange-to-green orb change, and two, because with his skill fusion, he lowers the attack and raises the defense of us. Like, he lowers the attack of the enemy and raises our defense, so we take 1 damage while it's active. Milim is here for the ult buff, and the attack for dark allies, which Ainz is. Nabe is here for the orb changing, Shizu is here for the buffing, and then Ainz is here to nuke. We've got skill point units up front turn 1, so we can do a few things. And also we have Dord as our protector support, because Dord, at the start of every turn, gives the front line a 15% chance to not be poisoned. And this team also, on the front line, everybody has anti-poison necklaces, so it just adds on. It adds a second proc to the whole I'm not going to get poisoned. It's a butt ton of RNG. If you want to bring the 4-star Gobta again and just all dodge poison, that can work, but you're going to lose a support unit of some kind. You're going to lose Soe for his defense skill, or you're going to lose Shizu for her mainline buffing, Milim for her buffing, Nabe for her orb, a lot of orb changing for this team. So there are concessions to make. If Soe isn't skill fused, I mean, you can still bring him, but you're probably then better off just trying to just full on nuke and not worry about taking excess poison damage. This team requires a lot of RNG to get a perfect score, and I don't get a perfect score with this team, but I get very close. So turn 1, it's a 3-3 spread. I don't really care about it. I have no way to deal with that. So what we're going to do is we're going to just try and force the Ainz ult as quick as possible. We'll bring our 2 units from the back in. We will use the defense skill now, and we'll just send 3 Ainz orbs to start getting him close to an ult. And then turn 2 is kind of a wonky thing. But we took 1 damage there. And now you can see we had this little blinking poison thing, and that's from Dord. So it gives us a chance to dodge the poison. We send the 4 blues, and 1 unit gets poisoned, so that's kind of unfortunate. If he had dodged that, we would have been looking pretty good. It's now turn 3, which means our defense thing has worn off. So we need to use Rimuru to reset that back down to 15 points, and then we also need to get an Ainz ult. So 15 points here, and then unfortunately I make the mistake of leaving Shizu up front. I should have brought Nabe in for that, and then used the orb changes. That way she would also have the defense skill, but it is what it is. Slight misplay on my part. Greens for Ainz gets him an ult, that's very good. We have 168 points, which is also very good. And we will continue as is. The thing is quite tanky, right? So, yeah, we took 71 damage on Nabe. It could have been 1. And we could have had a better score, but it is what it is. So alt swap away. We'll do the Despair to give the extra protection gauge to greens, and then we'll use we'll use Rimuru to reset the skills of everything, and then we'll do a full hand of greens again. And then in order to get like the max turn bonus, you need to nuke on turn 5, which if you have enough damage and you have the full team, you can do. And unfortunately, I fucked up somewhere. And I did the orb convert in the wrong way. But we have Milim, or we have Soe, one of the two, and we would be able to convert regardless. So that saved me, because we also have 5 Ides orbs, which gets us his EX ult very, very quickly. So, if you want to get max turn bonus, you need to nuke turn 5, and you need to be able to do the 1.4 million damage. If not, then you can just go turn 6. Alright, so there, Nabe took another hit, so that doesn't help us at all either. So we're going to buff here. So that's the ult buff and the attack buff for Ainz. We'll bring Shizu in, and then we'll use her buff, and then we'll use Ainz buff and the Despair just for extra damage on the Armor Saurus, I think is what it's called. And then the final stack of Rimuru. So Ainz has guaranteed crits, it's a 70% magic buff, 25% attack, 70% ult damage, 100% weakness strike, 50% ult resistance down on it, couple stacks of Rimuru. Like, he's going to look pretty good, and he's going to hit pretty hard. These Shizu orbs won't do anything because she's got the guard penetration down or something. And then Ainz does 1.4 by himself. So, there we go. And what's our score look like? We took 1166 damage, which is minus 83. We could have cut that down more by not having Nabe get hit. And then, obviously, the third poison dodge would have been great, and that would have gotten us a perfect score. So, you know, you can RNG it. You don't have to RNG it. I'm missing less than 100 points. It's not that big of a fucking deal. But, you know, that's roughly how you're going to do it with better RNG than what I had. Alright, the next team is going to be the first anniversary Dark team. So we've got Veldora, free-to-play guild. Isis will be our primary nuker. And then we've got, Milim is our primary nuker. Then we have Isis as our orb support, orb changer. Shinsha is here to support us as well, but we will not be going to turn 8, so she will not be at full power. And then Rimuru, who is skill fused, so it doesn't change anything. He still did the same exact thing to Milim that he did before he was skill fused. But he is here to give us the crit and crit damage. So, as long as we can get Veldora capped out at that 70% magic buff, then we'll be looking pretty good. This will not get you damage cap, and I don't think we go. I don't think we kill on turn 5 since we know that we're not going to hit damage caps. So we're already losing points, but Geld can give blue orbs to the person with the highest attack, which is Milim. So this definitely helps out getting Milim her ult turn 1, which is great. Except we don't have an ult swapping unit, so. She is now an orb changer, and that's about it. So, things don't really work out that well here. So, look at this. It's not a great hand. Do I reset this, or do I continue on with it? Man, what do I do here? I'm thinking. Alright, so we brought Geld in for Milim. What does that do? So we're going to stack some crit resistance down on the Armorsaurus. Also, this will give all the orbs extra skill point gain permanently. We'll use Veldora to reset all of that. Are we going to skip this? Nope, I must be doing something right now. There we go. Okay. What are we doing here? Are we giving away the blues again to Shinsha, I assume? That would probably be the best course of action, because there's not really anything else I can do here. And I'm still thinking about it. Still thinking. Alright, yeah. Okay, so we give away the orbs to Shinsha. That's fine. It clears our hand mostly and leaves a green, which is what we need, realistically. And this next hand is decent. We can work with that. We can definitely work with that. So, Shinsha is going to go away from Milim, and then Milim will take that orange Shinsha orb, and then we can just use her orb change, and we can have a full hand of greens after we send her away, because we have that green Isis orb coming in. So this worked out fairly well. I just have to think about it some more. There we go. Sorry, so... Man, I've taken a lot of breaks in this clip. Sorry. Sorry it takes so long. Okay, so you come in for Geld. Alright, and then... That's a very weird thing that I did right there. Alright, yeah, this is what I get for not recording things and then not talking about it for days. Okay, so Milim comes out for Rimuru. That's going to give us 5 greens and an ult. Do I send the Shinsha ult here? Oh, I do. What a dangerous game we play. Alright. Obviously you don't kill. 32k. Alright. Okay, sure, whatever. And this is what? This is turn 3. Okay, so he's very, very low now. But this does open up our hand to a whole bunch of things that we don't really care about, right? So now we don't have an extra alt clocking us up. We can take out one of those Rimarus, probably. Yeah, we can take out Rimuru, because we'll take that second orange orb. We'll use the convert with both Milim and Isis. Yeah, so we'll use the Isis one first, and then we'll use Veldora to reset it. And yeah, we gotta use Veldora first. So we're up to, what was that, 45% on Veldora. So we're getting fairly close. We're halfway, well, more than halfway there. So more crit resistance down, orb change, the green buff again, and then we can swap Milim away for Geld, and then that brings in that last Shinsha orb. Now we have a full hand of green, looking pretty good. Shinsha is debuffed, and we're gonna use Geld's orb change. It literally did nothing, but it is a skill that was able to be stacked on Veldora's magic buff. So it did do something. You just visibly couldn't see it. Alright, so turn 5, he is fairly low, and we should be capped out now. Okay, we need one more skill usage to get capped out, which, I mean, would be the alt buff. It would be one of the skills, so we don't have to worry about anything. I just don't want to kill this thing before we get to the nuke. So there we go. We took an AoE, we were poisoned, we don't really care. Now it's turn 6, all of his defense is gone, which means we will hit harder, which is great. So we're going to swap out the 2 non-buffing units, bring Rimuru in, bring Shinsha in, and we'll use that, we'll use that, we'll use that. And then if we reset with Veldora, because now we're capped out at that 70% magic buff, we can then use one more stack of the crit debuff from Shinsha. And that'll just help us hit a little bit harder. And then we'll go ahead and nuke. And we can't send anything else because he would die. So, Millimalt does 429. Not super great, but it's the first anniversary team. We weren't seeing millions of damage quite yet. So, 48.8 is the final score. We did 539k. Again, 1.4 million is what you're shooting for. And you see we've lost 5,000 points because we're on turn 6 instead of turn 5. Oh well, it is what it is. But let's move on. Alright, the third team we have is a Primal Demon Visions of Coleus team-ish. We've got second anniversary Lumi. We've got the original half anniversary Dark Diablo, because he has an 80% personal alt buff. And then we've got Coleus Rimuru for the rainbows and the turn 1 orb changing. Blanc is here, Violet is here, and then we brought Albus, because she's dark, and she has a Pierce buff, and she's got an orb change for greens. So, in theory, this team should work as long as we just buff Diablo out, who does not have an EX alt, but he's going to have a lot of support, and he will get the stacks from Lumi, because he's a Primal Demon. So, we have Rimuru in slot 2, so that we can just straight up convert all of the oranges into blues, and that gets us a very good starting hand. It gets us 2 stacks of Lumi, and things look fairly good. And then we can save his rainbow orbs for a different turn where it's really going to maximize our protection gauge. So, bring Albus in for Diablo. Okay, that's fine, because we've got the protection traits. And those are more important than getting Diablo in ult immediately, because again, we have the rainbow orbs. We can get an ult for him pretty much any time we want after turn 1. And we have a lot of Blanc orbs. Sure. I mean, that works. This hand, however, isn't the best thing in the world. So, I mean, we can change out of it. It's unfortunate that we have to use all of it, but we can then bring Diablo in for Blanc, and then we have, 4 blues to send to him to get that. Plus, we're going to have 2 stacks of Lumi. That'll raise his attack up by 24% now, because we've got 2. And it'll give them guaranteed synergy for that turn, which will help us chip down the Armosaurus a little bit. And we'll send him last. Yeah, it gets him very close. The rainbows are going to be here not for alt gauge, but more for protection gauge than anything else. Alright. So turn 3, we get poisoned. Not a big deal. We're not here to dodge poison. This isn't like an RNG kind of team. Alright. And we'll do another stack of Lumi. And then we can just do the same orb change again. And then we can also use the rainbows here if we really, really wanted to. So, change, change, And then Rimuru will come in for Albus, Violet, doesn't matter, as long as it's not Diablo. Use the rainbow orbs, get a whole butt ton of gauge and points. We're bling Blanc in because it's turn 4 next turn. If we don't cap out, then we will now. And we do cap out. So max points, max gauge, EX ult for old Diablo. Not that he has the capability of doing that, but he certainly has it. Alright. So, I mean, we're looking fairly good. This team is pretty cohesive, right? We've got supports, we got orb changers, we've got a stacking protector, we're type advantage. Like, this is a good team. I don't ever use this Diablo, because there are better options. And also, I hate him just from own personal bias, because of what his banner made me do. But I hate the Rimuru more that came out with him. That Dark Protector Rimuru. That came out during a half anniversary that was space. In case you weren't playing back then, because not a lot of you were, for the original half anniversary, they had a triple banner with Milim, Hero, and Veldora. They had a second banner with Carrion, alright? And then they had a third banner with another Protector and another battle unit who did not match the element of the meta. And it was so stupid. I also had to 300 pity that Rimuru. It irritated me back then. That was a long time ago. That was almost 2 years ago, actually. That's crazy to think about. That we're already at the 2.5 anniversary, which means I've had this YouTube channel for 2.5 years. All right, now we're getting all nostalgic in a Jubilee video. All right, whatever. Okay, so we're on turn 5. We could nuke now, or we could wait until turn 6. Since we don't have an EX ult, we're not really in a position to do 1.4 million damage. We'll certainly do quite a bit, but you know, this Diablo does not have EX stats. So let's just use the orb change, boom, and then we'll call it a day. I totally, on this turn, spaced out that Blanc has an orb ult swap ability, so it's like, oh yeah, we'll bring Diablo in because it doesn't matter, it doesn't affect our orbs, and it's like, bro, we have Blanc, what am I thinking? So, alright, turn 5, we're sending it, and he's at half health, but now he has no defense, and now we have all the ults all day, plus another stack of Lumi. Almost 2 more stacks, which would have been even better, but didn't quite work out that way. So if I had left Albus in or something, we would have been fine. And we would have gotten that last stack. So we are missing another 12% attack, but it's fine. So Blanc buff, Violet buff, Diablo's personal buff, which is only 15 points. And then we'll bring Albus in for that final Pierce buff. And then we'll go ahead and maybe send an orb, maybe not. Kind of have to decide. No? Okay, we just send the ult, and we do 588. You know, not the highest damage, but that's more damage than I've ever seen that Diablo do in any setting. So 625 total damage. I mean, that's not terrible. It's not terrible. And the team is cohesive. So if you can build it, then great. And you'll get an okay score. But let's move on. Alright, the last team I have for you is a Fount of Wisdom team plus Dark Hinata and Guy. So Hinata, Albus, and Rimuru. Albus is going to be our nuker. Now, you know, we do have an EX nuker. Diablo is stacking ult resistance down. Turn 1 Hinata, the Dark Hinata, Summer Hinata, will be able to yoink all the orbs so we can give it to Albus. And so again, this team should functionally work fine. It's just that it's not going to do 1.4 million damage because we don't have that extra 6% damage buff from the Force. So look at all the Hinatas. We're going to yoink them. Alright, cool. And then we'll bring Albus in, and that'll get her, you know, like 1.5 gauge or something like that. Something close to that. And then we don't need that much more. It's just that we don't have an ult swapper on this team. Right? We don't have Blanc. We don't have free-to-play Gopta. We don't have Overlord Shizu. So it is kind of wonky to play around. And it does mean that we'll need a few turns of guaranteed orbs for Albus to really get her EX ult. Because I don't always want to have Albus here and only send 5 orbs, right? So let's just get her out of here now. And we'll bring in Fount of Wisdom Rimuru, and then we'll use a couple orb changes. Boom and boom. So we're going to try and maximize the stacks of Diablo, because Diablo stacks more slowly than other normal blue protectors, because he's stacking at 30 points a usage instead of the typical 40. And you do notice that. You definitely will notice that you are not you do not have as many points available to you because he's stacking 10 less. And if you do that 4 or 5 times, you're missing 40 to 50 extra points than you would normally would have. So, and I think that's just virtue of him being the very first EX protector, and they're like, how overpowered do we want to make him versus how overpowered should he be, considering now we have EX characters, and now we have EX ults, and we have that extra damage buff, and blah, 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 blah. So, he is power crept, right? He was power crept by the next time we got a stacking protector, which was the Velzard for Guy's Warriors Mind team. Shock surprise. They went back to the 40 skill points because everyone was like, Diablo's not that great. Like, he's good. He's not that incredible amazing. But we were still able to do millions of damage. But this is also coming off of Protector Shuna in New Year's, right? Where we were double stacking things and it was crazy and we could do a lot of damage because we were double stacking effects. But I'm getting off topic. But like, realistically, it's like, this is a blue stacking team. There's not much to it. No Albus Orbs here, but we brought her in anyway so we can get her next turn. But we were able to get another full hand of blues, which definitely helps out our stacking capabilities. And now we got to worry about getting an ult for her, which, thankfully, we got a few orbs. So that worked out fairly well. And now, I mean, we could even just send the 4 oranges, call it a day. Or we could still continue to orb change out of it. And it's really up to you, because there's a lot of things we would have to do, because there are no blue orbs here. So boom, and boom, and then Fount of Wisdom Rimuru will come in, and we'll send that orb change, and now we've got 3 Albus orbs, and that gets us close. Very, very close. If you have Blanc, I would probably bring her. Albus has the green orb change, so you don't need Gopta. We got blessed again, though, in this turn 5 hand, because we need these 3 Albus orbs to get her EX ult, and we got a very easy orb change. So, this works. Again, we're not sending as many blues as we can. We are still capped out at 250, which means that we can at least use 3 big-time buffs, of which we're going to need to, because we're going to send the Guy buff, the Rimuru buff, and the Albus buff. And we have just enough points to do so, plus 1 more stack of Diablo. So, I don't remember what score we get here. The Hinata buff in the back would not do anything for Albus. She would get like a 60% attack buff, which is less impactful than any of the other ones. 766. That's pretty good. That's pretty good damage because it's an EX ult, and we have big time buffs. So 58.8 is the final score. 800,000 just over for total damage. So a fairly good team. Better than the other one, but that's it for Normal Battle 3. This one's a little bit of a longer video because it takes a little bit longer to go through this stage, but let me know if this helps you out. That's it for me. That's it for Normal Battles, and then tomorrow we'll move on to Boss Battles. But take it easy, guys, and I'll see you later.